So, last week Tuesday, I attended a High Court hearing in Pretoria where the Embrace Project and the Vid Center of Applied Legal Studies were presenting a constitutional challenge to the Sexual Offences Act. And I wrote this whole article about what exactly it is they are challenging, why they are challenging it, and what this means in our country's fight on GBV.
Okay, so if you read all that and you still don't quite understand what's going on here and why this matters, I get it. This is actually quite a legally and technically nuanced case that can be quite difficult to understand. But allow me to try to break it down for you. So, with the subjective test that the Embrace Project is challenging, it requires that the prosecution needs to prove that the perpetrator had intent to sexually assault somebody. Now, the problem with this is that if the perpetrator holds regressive and backwards understandings of what consent is, they can claim that they mistakenly thought that there was consent, even if there wasn't. And what this means is that even if somebody has objectively sexually assaulted someone else, there's a chance that they can actually be acquitted if they hold regressive views. And another problem is it is actually quite difficult to prove that somebody had intent when they say that they didn't. So even if somebody has objectively sexually assaulted someone, it can still be quite difficult to convict them. Let's look at a case study that was actually used as an argument in court by CALS and the Embrace Project, which is the Coco vs trial, where in October 2021, Loiso Coco was found guilty of raping his girlfriend. And this was because on the night of the incident, she told him she wished to preserve her virginity and that she did not wish to engage in penetrative intercourse. So, in other words, she did not consent to sex, definitively. And because of this, the magistrate's court found him guilty. However, on appeal, the Eastern Cape High Court overruled this decision on the grounds that it could not be proved beyond reasonable doubt that Coco did not believe that there was consent. This was because Coco understood oral sex and foreplay to be tacit consent for penetrative sex. In other words, his backwards understanding of what consent is actually worked in his favor in him being acquitted. Now, even though the Supreme Court ultimately overturned the High Court's ruling on Coco, the fact that the High Court could make such a ruling in the first place is quite scary because it shows that there are legislative gaps that actually give perpetrators a leg to stand on in court when they have objectively committed sexual offenses. And while Coco's decision went to Supreme Court, many cases do not. So this begs the question of how many cases are there in South Africa where victims do not get justice? And that is exactly why CALS and the Empowerment Project are in court, because they are trying to expose this legislative gap and remedy it to help in the fight against GBV in South Africa. And that is why you should care.